I'm looking at people like you and me.
Did I explain what I do clearly enough?
No, I was going to introduce you as doctor. So, sorry. So,
I thought you were like a what?
Starchitect. Did you know that?
What's a starchitect? Something else. Do you remember jumping off the train? Expert and telling the company.
Hello and welcome to Brutalism Bananas. This is Nilanjana, and today's guest is an environmental psychologist because architecture is not only about how buildings look, but also about how they make us feel. Please welcome Dr. Sadhana Jagannath, who started off as an architect but is now a big shot environmental psychologist. Hi, Sadhana.
Hi, that's a very humbling introduction.
I
Hi.
can call you Sajay, which is what I call
Yeah,
you.
Sajay is good. It's been a while.
How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, how are you?
I'm good too. Thank you so much for doing this.
Very, very happy to be a part of this. Been really exciting watching other people.
Yeah. So Sadhana, like I was saying, is an architect. She studied with me in Mysore, and then she went on to do a master's in environmental psychology from the University of Surrey, and that's where she did her PhD as well in the same subject. Now she works as a fellow, postdoctoral fellow at the Imperial College of London, and also you're a research associate in the University of Surrey.
Yeah, that's like an honorary visiting research fellow kind of position. I do some work with them as well.
Okay, so can you tell us what these roles are? Because it's quite different from what we are generally used to.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So I'm an academic researcher. So as Neil mentioned, I did my PhD in environmental psychology. So since then, I've been working as a researcher, and it is predominantly collecting data and analyzing data, making sense of the data, and with any academic work, it's basically creating new knowledge and new insights. So that's basically what I do. So that's mainly the research element. The research element of it is a big part of my job. So environmental psychology is my field of study, and it's basically a part of psychology that looks at the environments that surround us. So this can be built environments, it can be natural environments, and even within built environments, it can be leisure spaces, leisure environments, work environments, educational. And what I do mainly is residential.
Okay.
And now, actually, I'm now moving also into healthcare design environments. And because I have a background in architecture, my first degree was architecture, I look at what this means for design. Like, how do they interact with the design of the space? If they need to do something in a space, if they need to feel some way in a space, what should the design look like? So that's what I mean when I say I do academic research in environmental psychology. My PhD looked at housing design and again, very much focused on people. I looked at flexible housing design, which is a very, it's conceptual. Everyone knows it. And it's been around for, I don't know, decades now, but not necessarily has taken different forms. Do people see that there are transformable features? Are there multifunctional spaces? Blah, blah, blah. But also the behavior side of it, the people side of it. Can they see it? Are they capable to engage with it? Do they actually modify it and evaluated what that means for their well-being? So I asked them, how does this make you feel? And measure their behavior and so on, and then try to link them up and draw inferences in a way that, okay, this kind of, I'm not there yet, but to be able to say this kind of flexible house is important for this group of people. So hopefully that will help architects and designers and decision makers within housing to be able to then say, okay, we are limited in terms of time, resources, whatever, and this is where we'd ideally want to put our priorities.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So do you act as a consultant or do you design yourself?
I don't design. So my work is predominantly research. So I collect data based. But because my work is within is based on architectural design. The questions I ask is relevant to built environment design and architecture. The way I design my research allows the findings to be a bit more easily applied into practice. So the knowledge and the data and the insights I generate is something that architects can use in their practice. I'd love to design spaces. I really miss that side of things, but I think I'm best positioned to do the research, and I like that more.
If somebody wants to also design after doing this degree, is that a possibility?
Yeah, absolutely. So the people that I know who've done formal or informal training in environmental psychology and have sort of, as architects, have gone back to their own practice and tried to use some of these theories, insights, just a way of thinking into their own practice. So you're able to then use that yourself. The field is quite broad. Environmental psychology, it can also be about sustainability. And one of my projects was about that. We implemented a behavior change intervention using behavior science to get nurses in operating theaters to reduce the amount of non-sterile gloves they use unnecessarily. So that's
Right.
environmental impact. And I was brought in on that project because I had an architecture background. We had to heavily rely on the environmental cues and manipulation to promote and support that behavior. So there's that side of things. And then my own independent research that I do is more focused on housing design and healthcare design. I also worked on a project with the University of Stirling briefly in Scotland, which was about designing for cognitive aging and dementia. So that I really worked a lot with architects as well, and that was a bit more about trying to come up with a design guide that is, recommendations for what makes a house support somebody aging cognitively, like reduction in memory and vision and so on, which is really fascinating. But I have to say, my favorite is housing. My favorite is healthcare, which I'm now trying to do. But the architecture side of it, design, like what can I find out? Yeah, I think that's my favorite. Yeah.
It's very fascinating to hear about the whole dementia sort of an angle.
It was really cool. They built like models, like virtual environments of the houses that are good and have these good design elements, and got older people to wear virtual reality headsets and look around it and give us feedback. And then we used that to then did like multiple iterations of design, development, refinement based on that. And then I can send you a link. There is, I think, probably a virtual design sitting somewhere on the university's website. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. So it's different ways to collect data. It's actually, I find it very fascinating.
Can we backtrack a bit and talk about your master's? What got you interested in psychology?
Yes. So I don't know if you remember, but my undergraduate thesis was housing. I looked at affordable mass housing, and you and I went on case study trips, which was fascinating.
Kerala and then Rajasthan and Bombay.
Yeah. And Rajasthan was, did I do anything in Rajasthan? I think that was you. But
but you came with me all the way to Rajasthan.
Man, Thilonia was something else. Do you remember jumping off the train?
And the luggage.
There's no platform. It's like you have to climb the stairs. It's hilarious.
And there was no road. We were like lugging our luggage on mud.
Yeah. Oh, that was an experience and a half. But yeah, so we saw informal settlements, and both in Bombay and then in Trivandrum, was it? But yeah, I was trying to understand how we can provide good homes for people. And with affordable mass housing, often it's just units being replicated. So I don't know if you remember, but I did like a tiny bit of documentation of the existing settlement there, which was interesting. Like there were these government provided or designed homes, like very linear, right next to each other, and people had extended them back and front. And that was very fascinating. So I did like a documentation of that, and I tried to bring that into my actual design. So like, okay,
Mhm.
when people are financially a bit more stable and secure, they would want to expand. So I'm like, how do I factor that into my design? So I was trying to future proof the homes, and I
Mm.
looked at incremental housing. When I did that, a lot of issues came up, obviously, like structurally, like where can they physically expand, but also things like privacy and territoriality. And these are very, inherently psychological concepts. How do people feel and how? So that's when I started looking at some, I wouldn't say papers specifically, but just reading up a bit more about it and being really fascinated about it. And I loved that side of things. And I designed for privacy, I designed for territoriality. I just
Mhm.
didn't realize it at the time. And I remember my mom asking me to explore masters. And I said, in architecture, you don't really need to do masters. Um, and I was thinking, okay, if I do need to do a master's, it'll be in something that I'm extremely passionate about. And then I started looking and thought back, and I'm like, oh, I love that side of things. Let me look at it. And then I realized there is a field in psychology called environmental psychology. So I started digging a bit more into that. So yeah, that's when I found the course at Surrey, which was literally the only place in the entire world that offered a 1 year master's program
Okay.
on this
Why is
topic.
it
So I'm
like
like,
little longer, is it?
in the US, they had, a couple of years. No, I don't think they had a master's. They had a PhD program, and I wanted to
Okay.
be taught. I wanted to be taught
Correct.
what it was because it's new. Like I have no
Yeah.
idea. So there's only now there are a few more courses that have come up since, but at that time, this was 7 years ago. I There was no other. So I'm like, okay, then I guess I'm off to the UK.
What has the experience been like overall? Because I remember when you were doing your master's, there was a time when you were a bit overwhelmed because it was a lot more psychology than you were expecting it to be, and lot less architecture. Uh,
Yeah,
do I remember that correctly?
yeah. Absolutely, 100%. So I mean, it was a course offered by the psychology department, so I knew that it was a psychology course, and it's a unique course. Like it does have there are more courses like these days, but probably not so much then, where you'd have people from different disciplines enrolled on it. Often
Yes,
that is not the case, because how do you assess who can
correct.
join the course and come up with a curriculum that supports all their learning needs? Um, so ours was half and half psychologists, and then half designers,
Okay.
architects, geographers, artists. Um, so yeah, it was predominantly psychology, and I didn't know what I knew of all these psychological concepts which I was interested in, but I didn't know what psychology as a discipline was.
Mm.
I failed my stats exam, like in the first go. Like it was quite hard. It was a steep learning curve because I wasn't just doing something um, tangential to architectural design. Psychology was very different, it's a very different discipline. But I absolutely loved the masters because I did it out of my passion and I wanted to be taught. And I think I was. Like I learned so many different sides of it. Um, Mainly key questions within environmental psychology, like key theories and concepts and issues, and some research methods on how to go about asking those questions and answering those questions. And what we covered was predominantly architecture, built environment, design based. But there were some courses on natural environment, how restorative it is, and sustainability, like I said earlier. But it was more psychology than design, and we weren't doing anything. None of the exams or none of the outputs or outcomes were designing something. It was all about creating knowledge that's linked to design. So it was very
True.
different. It took me a whole year, I think, to figure out the entire discipline and understand the entire discipline, and also know it was only towards the end that I knew, oh, okay, when I did my MSc dissertation project where I conducted my own research, that I realized, oh, this is absolutely fascinating and I want to do more of this.
And then you
Um,
went to a PhD of 4 years, which
three,
was
three and a half. Yeah. Yeah. That's when I knew I wanted to do more research and not
That's
just go
really
off into
cool.
the
Yeah.
that's usually the thing, isn't it? You do masters to then upskill and then go off into the industry and get a job. But I really didn't think I wanted that. Also, there weren't any jobs then. There are few more jobs now.
So after doing like maybe the masters, not obviously the PhD, because not I don't think a lot of people want to get
Yeah.
PhDs unless they're like super into something like you were.
Hmm.
But suppose somebody does an MSc like you've done, what kinds of jobs would they be looking at? Would it mainly be academic or research based, or do you are there more opportunities?
There are some like big firms that have environmental psychologists
Okay.
in them, like Fosters and Partners. They have, I
Mhm.
think they have like a workplace consultancy, like a division that has that I know have a couple of environmental psychologists. It'll be for the projects or just going through available research, either from academia or great
Right.
literature,
Yeah.
to figure out what works for design. So the bigger companies are more likely to have a research division team,
But
and
it would still be research.
it depends. I think if you're I know the person I know who did internship there was a psychologist, so he predominantly
Oh,
did research, but he didn't sort of stay there. But I do know that somebody else did, and he was an architect. So probably he was playing a dual role there where he was doing the bit of research and had also the skills to apply them into practice. I don't know. I haven't necessarily spoken to him, but there is scope. And I do believe that bigger companies, bigger firms are more open to it, like Arab. It'll be research focused. But if you're an architect and when you do your interviews or when you strike a
mhm.
conversation with people about job opportunities, um, if you can offer to also work as an architect, I think that would just mean that they see more value in you and you're more likely to explore
Okay.
the both the research and design side of it. The people that I do know who've managed to go off into the industry, architecture, design, built environment industry, as an environmental psychologist, will have to play the role of an expert because if I'm being honest, I don't think architectural firms know what it is or know how to use it. Or it's so niche and it's so new. But I've also seen over the since I did my masters to now, there's been an increased demand and appreciation and acknowledgement really of
Okay.
the need for research and environmental psychology. Yeah. And I think it's exciting because I like doing that kind of things. But if you're looking for a more traditional role, I'm not sure that exists just as yet. I know that there may be a few more options or opportunities available in Australia, more so in the US. I think architecture psychology is a bit more it's more applied and it's more prominent in the US from what I hear.
So what is one piece of advice you'd give someone who wants to get on this path?
Really think about why you want to study this course or why you want to study this thing and it's what kind of value it's bringing to you. If you're financially restricted and if you're looking to get into a job immediately, I would probably say wait a little bit and try to read up on it a little bit because I've had loads of people message me since I did my masters, architects from India, all different parts of India, um, wanting to learn a bit more about the course.
Mhm.
And I've
Mhm.
also jumped on a call. I'm happy to do that. I always am. Jump on a call and speak to them to see why do you want to know this? Like,
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
just want to improve your practice, I would just signpost them to resources available, papers available, and
Yeah.
like, this is how you understand it. But if you want to do primary research, then it's a whole other thing. Then, of course, you pursue it. The course at Surrey is one of the oldest and
Right.
one of the best programs for environmental psychology. You having that will actually help you. Um, so it's just being a bit more clear of what you want out of it,
Sure.
and talk to people. Um, Networking and talking, I can't stress how important that is, because people have different experiences from the course as well. So if you can catch hold of people on LinkedIn, but you also don't need a formal education in certain things. I sometimes tell people, if you know where you're heading and if you know somebody who's done something similar, or if you know the job that you want or the career you're chasing, work backwards and see what other people have done.
Yeah.
Did they need a master's? Do you think that they needed a professional sort of qualification, accreditation to give them a stamp of credibility? If
Yeah.
yes, do it, absolutely. But if not, there are loads of the ways of learning about things. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's good advice.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen our episodes where we talk about why the word bananas is a part of the podcast?
No.
Okay, so
What are you?
well, brutalism was to just catch the attention of architects who are browsing through, well, podcasts, but bananas was just an offset to
Yeah.
sort of set the seriousness of brutalism. And we generally ask the guests to share like an anecdote or an experience that they've had, which has been completely banana. Okay.
Trying to do like a quick recap of all my education and work experiences. It's a lot of ups and downs there. But I have to say, if I have to pick a banana moment, it has to be the operating theaters. Like,
Yeah.
it was so mad that to watch people just cut somebody open and fix them like they're a car. They thought I was a medical student. They thought I was a medical student observing or watching, because that's why people usually go in the theaters. And the very first time I did, I was like, oh shit, I'm either going to throw up or faint. I was thankfully fine. But it was so funny. He kept saying, yeah, come closer, watch this. Like, this is the organ. And I'm like, I couldn't care less. I'm like, I'm just going to go stand over there.
You tell
Oh.
them though, like you're just
The thing is,
observing the way people
yeah.
work around there, right?
Yeah, that time I could tell them, but later on I was collecting data. So we had to make sure that we weren't influencing people's behavior. So you have to be,
Oh,
we'd
okay.
go out, basically be a column in the room. And people would ask me, okay, what are you observing? I'm like, oh yeah, just sustainability, this, that. So I couldn't actually tell. I mean, they're all smart people. They knew what I was doing, but I was actually counting how many gloves they use and so on. If you, again, like, how did I end up in a hospital operating theater? I never know.
That is bananas.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for doing this. And I think our viewers will greatly appreciate this. Now that we have this out there, I think it's
Mm.
going to help a lot more people understand what the course entails.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's everyone I speak to about the course, mainly architects, they get it. They're like, we see the value in it, and it's really, really nice. And I've been really lucky on the fellowship now. Like, I've connected with a lot of architects in the industry here, and I'm trying to, help them use my findings. So I am doing a bit more of design in that sense, I guess, influencing design. So there's a lot of scope for it, and yeah, always happy to talk to people if they want to know more. Yeah. But
Okay.
thanks for having me. It was fun.